Okay, well, it's 5. Let's start it up.
Okay.
You want to lead us out, Bill, on the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, I sent out the meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look those over?
Yeah.
Or should I do attendance first? Okay, so let's see. I'm here. I'm zoning inspector's here. Okay, Mayor Jan Reed.
Yes.
Ken Reinhardt, Commissioner.
Yes. Here.
Michelle Reinhardt's absent. Bill Boylan.
Yes. Boys, sir.
Mark Greenwood.
Here.
And then, so that's a quorum. We've got a quorum. So let's do business. We've got a Pledge of Allegiance. We have 2 guests. And so did you all get a chance to read the minutes?
I did.
Any additions, deletions, edits? Bill moves to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes? That was unanimous. Okay, old business. The public hearing is scheduled for November 7th in this room at 5 o'clock p.m. So that's the date of our regular meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
5 o'clock.
at 5 o'clock, council, I went to the meeting last month, the village council meeting, they approved it. And I spoke with the village fiscal officer, and he said that there is a new solicitor that will be preparing the strike-through ordinance language that we'll be able to have at that meeting for anybody that wants to hear. So I think we're on track to make that a go. Okay. So then the next thing, and we already had been discussing the marijuana dispensary ordinance, and then we got the language from council, and Bill, you filled us in a little bit on that last meeting about how that got approved. So I guess that my thought is we need to figure out what changes to the book we need to make then, so that that's clear to anybody that wants to do any development. Right, we'll need to update the
big check table thing,
the
right?
table, and yeah, right. So, and I think we all kind of agreed that'd be something we could really tackle after we get this one done, and maybe after the new year.
Yeah, there's some other ones that I'd like to see us put in there as well.
Yeah, we could do.
You know, have to do with the grass ordinance or anything like that, so people know where it is. You know, it has to do with zoning.
Well, it can be. I mean, lawn is a defined use of land, and we could put in some explanation of what the zoning commission determines that a lawn should look like, or something like that. So,
If there's anything on the books now where there's already an ordinance.
well, I mean, I know there's a nuisance ordinance, I think, that is George's civil ordinance. But I don't know that there's anything defined in the zoning ordinance as to, like, the grass should be no taller than 6 inches or no less than 3 inches or something like that, And
Well, the town's got an ordinance on the grass.
Yeah, I thought we did on
weeds and how tall the grass could be. And
So the one thing that I've seen recently that I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. On my way into Hicksville, there's someone in violation of their
nuisance
right.
violation.
It's like
I
little
saw
public
that the other
humiliation
day.
goes a long way, right?
John's in the nursing home over
He's
there.
in
And I saw
violation
that
of
the
what?
other day.
He didn't mow his grass, right? So the village went out and posted a sign in
Oh.
the front yard, like a real estate sign,
Yeah.
nuisance violation.
Yeah,
I thought-
or like
I saw
a
that.
Yeah,
election type.
but we
Yeah,
already
yeah.
Just a
have,
real-
the council already has that, right? The ordinance.
Well, we've got an ordinance, but I don't know what the wording is on it, but it's about, that's why we turn stuff into Gabe and everything, the mowing, the weeds.
Right.
I don't do anything on mowing or weeds. That's not me at all. That's
Okay.
all. That's all
Back to George.
George. I've never done those.
Okay.
As far as the
Well, I've given them to him too, because Steve has called me several times on different locations. So
And what do you tell George?
I told Gabe and then I told George, covering the bases. And I haven't drove by the one that I complained about twice, see if he's done anything yet or not. So I'll try to make a trip by there.
Yeah, you
Friday
Village
night.
Road 1.
Might mention something to George about that and maybe see if he could have some.
Hasn't done anything yet.
No, I'm just saying as far as the sign up like similar to like what's in
Oh,
Hicksville.
okay.
I just thought that was a nice
I did too. When I
Little
first
public
read it, I
humiliation
thought, what's
thing,
going
you know,
on
why
here?
not?
So,
pulling a few levers.
I,
how long do you think they have to leave it set there?
mhm.
I haven't seen it, but I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just before the Catholic Church, right along in there.
Okay, well, I guess if you got a list of things that you'd like to review, I know the next item on the old business was one that we've talked about quite a bit. I don't know that we've ever come to any conclusions on what kind of changes we might want to make to the camper regulations.
I thought the primary focus of that conversation was really more spirited at the mobile homes that are not on permanent foundations, right? That there's no clarity on how to deal with those existing entities.
Mhm.
Whether or not that's done in here or as an ordinance, yeah, I don't know.
Well, that came up at the last council meeting.
Right.
There was a resident that what fit into that situation where, he wanted to make sure that he felt he had a very nice mobile home and it was built with the proper zoning, and gone through its proper zoning process to get the mobile home on that site, and he wanted to make sure that he could pass that on to his family after he's gone, and or if he wanted to be able to sell it, and and he had some experience in local government, and he had been on the Edgerton Village Council, so he was definitely
Stuff.
he was definitely knowledgeable, right? So we have to be aware of all those different points of view on that.
Right.
And so, but I think that, one thing you could talk about would be, maybe maintenance or something like that. Or I don't know, but is that zoning? Or, and we don't have a lot of time to spend on enforcement as it is.
Yeah.
So, if you want to put some teeth in the ordinance, then there has to also be somebody to do the enforcing. And if it's just the part-time zoning inspector that, I do what I can, and it would just have to move at the speed that I could get to it. And but with the campers, I think I'm good with the camper regulations where they are. I can
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see it.
and here again, I'm not thoroughly knowledgeable of what happens in other villages and cities, but I do know that, neighborhood associations and neighborhoods, when they get developed, they create their own covenants. And those kinds of things are generally created at a covenant level that is put on a restricted deed, right? So it's a different mechanism of creating a zoning ordinance specific to a neighborhood. They'll have, brick front, wood front, and they spell out all these things: single family, no goats, whatever.
Right. Well, and my wife lived in Fort Wayne, grew up in Fort Wayne, and her house, I don't know that they had the covenants when they created her neighborhood, but then after the fact, the neighborhood got together and they
Correct.
all,
And that can
They
be
all
done at any
agreed
time,
to
as long
do-
as it's done in a proper methodology,
Yeah.
I suppose, right?
Neighborhood association
Yeah.
got together and
Right.
decided, yeah.
so, well then, I'm gonna say that the camper regulations are
Just let them go for
are acceptable as is for now. So I'll make sure not to put that on the next agenda. Okay, so then I see item 5 was the official zoning map, and there've been some people that asked about it. Why can't we have the zoning map up? And so we're bringing it in. We're going to give it to the mayor.
Right.
And you can have one of your one of the
Just
Decide where
that.
to put it, huh?
yes,
Okay.
yes, okay.
Well, I think we had talked about out here in the hall. Bryce had said be out
That
the
way
best out
everybody
in the
could
hall
see
so
it.
anybody could come in at
That's
any
where it
time.
always used to be.
This isn't open 24/7 to come in here and look at it.
No,
Right.
but they
So
can
we'll
get
find
in
a
there.
place out there that we
Yeah.
can put it up and
If you do that, you might put it behind some
some
plexiglass.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a paper document.
No, that's, yeah.
You don't want anybody doodling on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have another
Somebody
copy
might
of
want to
that?
change it.
No, that was,
It's been scanned and it is on
It's
the.
on the-
but that is the stamped, signed,
This is the original
what
official.
attorneys call the wet ink copy.
Yeah.
The wet ink.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Okay.
Careful, it might be wet.
It might be wet, that's what
Right.
I'm just gonna.
So then, good that happened. And then the illegal sign that I informed you about, I have been contacted by the developer,
Right.
and then there's been some movement on. They were calling me while I was at work, and I said, "Can you look? I don't have a work phone. Can you email me?"
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got an email, but they had called me twice. So
We don't have like the sign out by.
So is that a
The
permanently
development.
affixed sign or
I
a
mean,
temporary
it's-
sign?
it is timber post and concrete in the ground. So it's not a regular.
We consider that permanent.
Yeah, that's pretty.
There's another one out there on Harmon Road South,
Is there?
right across from.
Is that in? Is it in village?
Well, sure it is. That whole field's
Is
in
it
there.
that? Is it that same company?
I don't know.
It's almost got it.
And they
I would guess
also
it
have
is.
one out on the highway, which is not in the village officially. So, but they did contact me.
How about the county?
Yeah, go out past the school.
Yeah.
As you're going out of town, it's on the right-hand side, just before you get to that second new house. It's in between the two houses that are out there.
Which is where
Empty
that
lots.
roadway is intended to. It's platted in.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been down there either.
It's on the west side of the street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's great that they put a sign up. They should have got a permit
Yeah.
first, but
So is the sign okay or it's not? What, we got complaints about it? What's going on?
they don't have a permit.
Oh, okay.
It's a
And
Okay.
it's permanent.
You guys
So,
discussed
you know,
this the
I
last
think our big
meeting.
concern needs to revolve around public safety, that it isn't sticking out so close to the right of way, or, close to the roadway that
it interferes with people getting in that driveway.
Yeah, and it's,
And I don't think that's the case.
and, you know, most signs that we get are fine.
Yeah.
But the commission wants to approve the signs before they're put up, so they need to, I mean, I think we're being fair, just asking them to comply. But, you know, I don't know if they're in, I don't know if they meet the setbacks or not. I haven't gone out to investigate that far.
Is this a developer sign or? what are you
Yes.
talking? Okay,
It's a broker, real estate broker.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay,
And they
They do
put one
development
out,
work too, but
yeah,
they had put one out by Mark's shop.
they were my real estate agent
Okay.
when we were trying
And
to
they're like,
lease and
well,
sell.
they didn't say anything about it. We put one out there. Well, I told them that I
It was a
pointed out that
temporary
it's in-
sign.
yeah.
In-
it was a temporary sign
Yeah,
there,
in the township.
and it was not in the village, right? Yeah. So, but anyhow, I'm
Right, so we can just say that that sign is being addressed.
yeah. So that's all I've got on old business. Does anybody have any new business for the good of the order?
And I don't know if it's worth putting up a fuss, but it was my understanding in B1 and B2 that there's a minimum window presentation percentage, correct?
I'm not sure about B1. Right? So I can look real quick. So I think I know what you're talking about on that.
Well, I know we went through all that for the Family Dollar. I mean, these kind of things don't present themselves very often, but B1 and B2 both had a minimum window.
B1 is very short and sweet. B2, yes.
Very specific.
B2 is more specific. B1 is.
Okay.
And, right, I know what you're talking
Mhm.
about. But,
Even the other two are they're a lot smaller windows there with the old laundry now was.
Yeah, they closed that off quite a bit.
mhm.
Really small.
It's still a business, but it's in a different business district.
Well, if we wanted to say something about it, I mean, that probably, what are they changing the
So
use to?
are you saying that the businesses have to have so many windows, or they can't have more than this?
So there's a minimum percentage of the front facing part of the building
Mm-hmm,
in B2 for certain, because we
Okay.
just did Family
Yeah,
Dollar.
I can,
And I thought it was 30% minimum window exposure,
minimum, okay.
on the business frontage.
windows, 30% of the facade shall be windows in B2,
Right.
but not in
That does not apply in
not
B1.
in downtown business district for B1.
Okay.
And are we just lucky somebody's fixing up a building?
Well, and I know, but I just saw two businesses take these giant windows and strip them out and put in little windows, and I'm like, yeah, what does the village look like when the entire village does that? I don't know. Jeff Cook did a fabulous job of maintaining that aesthetic,
He definitely
windows,
did.
and Doug's doing nice work. I'm not putting that down either. Josh is doing nice work too, but
Cooks didn't get a zoning permit. The office building where the village is renting office space never got a zoning permit. So when do you start
I
asking
know.
people to do a zoning permit? And especially, I said something about it on the Cook renovations, and the previous administrator did not want to do anything that might hold back any investment in the downtown district.
Well, my understanding that a zoning permit wasn't required as long as it's an existing structure and it's only being remodeled. You're not adding on to that structure in size or width. That you do not have to have, that's no different than putting a new roof on your house or putting placement windows in your house. You don't need zoning building permits for that. That's what I'm saying, that's what we're kind of doing here, is cutting the.
So a new roof, you had a house before, you still have a house.
Mm-hmm.
New windows, you had a house before, you still have a house. If you have a restaurant and you change it into a private card club room, that's a different operation, right? If you change a laundromat and you go to offices, then that's, you see where that changes the use and didn't add any square footage or anything like that. And you could do that without putting a new roof on or new windows.
Right.
But you did change
That was
what
my
you're doing.
understanding, that's why they didn't do it, because, the restricting business is different than what you would restrict residential.
Yeah. But I would see if you had a restaurant changed hands, you still have a restaurant, that doesn't require a permit. If you had a restaurant, you change it to something that, especially that needs a conditional use, right, then it should go through the conditional use permit process, which goes through the zoning appeals board. I've really been handling it the way you suggested it be interpreted, that if they're not adding space, then but the thing is, right, it's
You get into that gray line where now you're telling the owner what he can and can't do with his property.
With his property.
And that's where you get into a lot of lawsuits over it, because now it depends on who interprets it, which way it goes.
well, so, and I feel like our zoning's clear, and that should be, there's a place in town for people to do whatever most things that they'd like to do that are common activities. So
Gabe, when we speak to the term change of use, so we have the layer within the village, but then there's also a layer at the county, and it's a taxing, component. So, they use different tax codes for different land use. So restaurant, hardware, laundromat, residential use, gaming, these are probably all have a different
tax
code, and a different tax threshold and a different valuation process. I don't know how things work at that level, other than I do know they use codes specific to land use. And I don't know how I don't know how that loop gets closed.
So I tried to bring it up on the Cook renovation. And that Pocock building is a beautiful building, and it's done a wonderful job. But I pretty much got told to just don't worry about it. And so then if I don't do it there, then you have to be consistent.
Right.
And so then I go back to the old standard of it. If you haven't added any square footage, if you're just changing some finishes or putting in some new windows, then, and then there's not, to be real honest, I had a lot of duties added to my position about a year and a half ago, and I still my compensation hasn't increased to do all those duties. And then if I were to do a lot more enforcement on top of that, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to work for nothing. And it's not something anybody really enjoys. The enforcement part is tough. So until something changes there, then I think I'm just gonna continue with the status quo and do what I can with the time that I have. So, anything else?
I have no burning issues.
No, I think it's good. It's good. I'm hoping we can take December off.
December?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
We should.
Busy month anyway.
Everybody's
So just
got family
If
stuff.
something comes up, otherwise,
Well, it would be a sign. A sign could mess us up. But if it's if it's this sign that's been out there and it's not been a pressing issue, then
let it go.
we can let it go till January. So, everybody keep our fingers crossed. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion.
And we'll do adjourn. Second.
A second.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. The
All in
meeting
favor,
is
stand
over.
up.